Southern California community is coming together today to remember the life of a young dentist killed in a terrifying incident inside of the dentist's office. Dr. Benjamin Harouni, a 28-year-old dentist, gunned down by an angry ex-customer inside of an El Cajon dental office on Thursday. Two other patients were also injured when the suspect opened fire, striking one man in his 40s, also a young woman in her 20s. Police say it took hours to hunt down the suspected gunman after he allegedly fled that scene in a U-Haul. For more on this case, I'm joined now by Tracy Walder, former FBI agent and CIA officer and NewsNation national security contributor. Tracy, thanks for making the time tonight.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
So, Tracy, what are you making of this case? We know police quick to rule out calling this a hate crime, even though the victim was Jewish. What do you make of that?
You know, it's interesting. I really trust what ADL says, typically in regards to hate crimes, and they have since come out and said that they are agreeing with the assessment of El Cajon police. But the interesting thing here is this is very different than what we've seen. In 2022, in Tyler, Texas, two dentists were killed by a disgruntled patient. And that looked very different than this does. In that case, that was a patient that had an altercation with the front office, went back to his car to retrieve a weapon he had in there, and then proceeded to kill the dentist. In this, what we're looking at is the suspect planned this for really about 3 weeks to a month. There's a waiting period in California to get that gun, so he had to wait for that. He had to wait to rent the vehicle, and then he went and targeted this practice. And so it just feels a little bit different to me.
Yeah, and the suspect's family is saying that he had been suffering a mental breakdown, but you say he will not be able to use that argument in court. Why is that?
I personally, and again, I'm just speaking hypothetically here because I ultimately don't know what will happen, but this will most likely not be a defense that's going to hold up for him because of what I alluded to before with the degree of premeditation here. So this is someone that knew what they were doing and knew what their actions would ultimately do. So I think he's going to have a very hard time using sort of what we call that insanity defense. He may have indeed been suffering from mental health issues, but I don't think that that's going to preclude him, that's going to allow him to use that as a defense here.
And Tracy, we know the suspect took off after the shooting in a U-Haul. Do we have any information about how police were ultimately able to track him down?
You know, not that I know of, but I am assuming, especially in that area, it's basically a strip mall shopping center. It's pretty densely populated, and so there are a lot of CCTV cameras, Ring doorbells in the vicinity, and so I would imagine that they were able to pull a plate on that very, very quickly. However, what was probably difficult was they probably were able to track him bit by bit using the cameras that they had, but tracking him most likely became difficult after a while. And I would imagine a plate reader probably picked that up.
All right, Tracy Walder, appreciate the insight and time. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.